Good morning, friends. There's a moment in all of our lives when we find ourselves standing at the edge of the unknown. The plans we made crumble, the answers we seek elude us, and the path ahead seems shrouded in mystery. It's in these moments that we are called to trust, not when it's easy, not when it makes sense, but when we don't understand. Faith at its core is an invitation to step beyond what we know, what we can measure, and what we can touch. It's not bound by reason nor confined by the logic that our minds rely on to navigate the world. In fact, faith often asks us to abandon the very structure of understanding that we hold dear, to trust in something greater than our capacity to comprehend. When we are faced with challenges, the natural instinct is to search for logical solutions, something that fits neatly within the confines of our understanding. We want the numbers to add up, the facts to line up, and the steps to be clear. This is human nature. We want predictability, stability, and certainty. But faith, true faith, is not concerned with the logic of the moment. It doesn't require that you see the entire staircase to take the first step. In fact, faith thrives in the absence of logic. It is in the moments of uncertainty, when everything seems to be falling apart, that faith becomes most powerful. It is in those times that we must be willing to trust what we cannot see and what doesn't immediately make sense. Faith whispers to you when logic screams that it's impossible, and it encourages you to keep moving forward, even when your understanding falters. Think about the great figures of history who walked in faith. Moses standing before the Red Sea with nothing but a promise of deliverance. Abraham journeying to a land he'd never seen. Job sitting in the ashes of his life, having lost everything he held dear. None of them had a logical explanation for why things were happening the way they were. But they chose to trust in something greater than what their minds could explain, something deeper than what they could understand with their senses. Faith often requires that we trust in the unseen, the unquantifiable, and the unknown. It's not about understanding every twist and turn of our journey, but about believing that, even in the midst of confusion, there is a purpose. When we step into the realm of faith, we're no longer governed by our finite minds. We're moving with the trust that there is an infinite wisdom at work, even when we don't see it. There will always be moments when our logic fails us. There will always be situations where we're forced to let go of control. But these are the moments where faith shows its true power. When we step beyond what our eyes can see and into the trust of what we know deeper than our hearts, we tap into something eternal, something bigger than ourselves. It is in those moments, in the midst of the unknown, that faith provides the strength to keep going. So yes, faith is often beyond logic. It asks us to trust in a way that defies reason and understanding. But it is in that space, that sacred place where logic can't reach, that we find our greatest breakthroughs, our deepest transformations, and our most profound victories. Faith isn't just a belief, it's the power to move mountains, even when logic says it's impossible to climb them. We live in a world that thrives on control. From the moment we wake up in the morning, we start planning our day, managing our tasks, and making decisions based on what we believe is within our grasp. We calculate the risks, weigh the options, and strive to create a sense of order in our lives. This drive for control is built into us. It's an instinct, a necessity, because we want to feel safe, secure, and in charge of our futures. But what happens when control is taken from us? What happens when life doesn't unfold according to our plans, when things don't go the way we imagine, and when the circumstances are beyond our ability to manage? The reality is that there are moments in life when we are faced with situations where control is simply not an option. These are the times when no matter how much we plan, no matter how hard we work, no matter how deeply we strategize, the outcome remains elusive, unpredictable, and out of our hands. It's in these moments that we are forced to confront a hard truth: we can't control everything. We can't control the timing, we can't control the outcomes, and we can't control the people around us. What we can control, however, is how we respond. And in that response, we find the power of surrender. Surrender doesn't mean giving up. It's not about admitting defeat or abandoning hope. Surrender is about releasing our need to control the uncontrollable and acknowledging that there is a higher wisdom at work. It's about understanding that while we can make plans, we are not the ultimate architects of our destiny. There is a force beyond our understanding that orchestrates the flow of life, guiding us through valleys, leading us to peaks, and sometimes even taking us down paths that we never would have chosen for ourselves. But surrender requires that we trust that those paths lead to something good, even if we can't see the final destination just yet. When we choose surrender over control, we open ourselves up to peace. Control creates stress, anxiety, and a sense of burden as we constantly try to hold everything together, fearing that if we let go even for a moment, everything will fall apart. But surrender, on the other hand, frees us from that heavy weight. It's the acknowledgement that while we may not understand the full picture, we trust that there is a plan far greater than what we can see with our limited vision. It's about letting go of our grip on every little detail and trusting that things will unfold as they are meant to. Surrender requires humility. It asks us to acknowledge that we are not the masters of our own lives and that there are forces in play that are beyond our control. In surrender, we admit that we don't know everything, that we don't have all the answers, and that sometimes not knowing is exactly where we need to be. It is in this surrender that we make room for something greater to take place. When we let go of our need to control, we make space for grace, for guidance, and for growth. But surrender also requires courage. It's easy to want to control everything because it gives us a sense of security. We feel safer when we know what's coming next, when we've mapped out our lives in neat little compartments, and when we've controlled the variables as much as possible. But the truth is that life is unpredictable. It doesn't follow a script, and no amount of planning or controlling can change that. Surrender asks us to have the courage to step into the unknown, to trust that even in the most chaotic and uncertain moments, we are being led exactly where we need to go. In the process of surrender, we often find that what we thought we needed to control was never really in our hands to begin with. We realize that some things were always meant to unfold in their own time, according to their own rhythm. We see that the lessons we learn in surrender, the moments of vulnerability, the times of patience, the moments of silence are often the most transformative. In these moments, we discover strength we didn't know we had, resilience we didn't know we possessed, and peace that surpasses all understanding. Surrender is not passive. It is a conscious decision to release the need to control and embrace trust in something greater. It's about letting go of our ego's need to dictate every outcome and opening ourselves to the flow of life. It's not about passively waiting for things to happen to us. It's about actively choosing to step into the unknown, to trust the process, and to surrender to the unfolding of our journey, even when we don't understand it fully. In that surrender, we find freedom, and it's in that freedom that our true potential is revealed. We often think of growth as something smooth, something that happens when everything is going right. We imagine growth as a gentle process, like a plant blossoming under the warm sun. But the truth is, real growth often takes place not in moments of comfort, but in the moments of discomfort. It's in the struggles, the challenges, and the adversity that we are stretched, refined, and molded into something stronger than we were before. Discomfort is an essential part of the human experience. Whether it's physical discomfort, emotional pain, or mental strain, we all encounter moments that push us beyond our limits. These moments can be uncomfortable, even painful, and our natural instinct is to avoid them. We want to avoid discomfort because it doesn't feel good, it's unsettling, and it challenges our sense of control. But what if I told you that discomfort is the very thing that unlocks your potential? What if the things that make you most uncomfortable are the things that can lead you to the greatest breakthroughs? The reality is that growth does not happen in a vacuum of comfort. Just as a muscle only becomes stronger when it is subjected to resistance, our character, our resilience, and our strength are developed through the resistance of life's challenges. Without discomfort, we would never know our true capacity. Without discomfort, we would never push past the boundaries we've set for ourselves, and we would remain stagnant, content in our limited view of who we are. But discomfort forces us to stretch, to expand, and to confront our own limitations. Think about the process of a diamond being formed. It starts as a rough, unpolished piece of carbon deep beneath the earth. For that carbon to become the sparkling, refined diamond we admire, it must endure intense pressure, high heat, and incredible stress. It must undergo discomfort to become something of value. And this is how we are shaped through the pressure of life, through the heat of adversity, and through the discomfort that forces us to confront who we truly are and what we are capable of. When we face discomfort, we are forced to dig deep within ourselves. We are forced to question our beliefs, challenge our fears, and examine our limits. It is only in these moments of discomfort that we are truly tested. It's easy to remain comfortable, to stay in a place where we don't have to face our weaknesses or confront our insecurities. But growth doesn't live in that safe space. Growth lives in the discomfort, in the moments when we feel like giving up but decide to keep going anyway. In discomfort, we learn perseverance. We discover that even when things seem impossible, we can keep moving forward one step at a time. We find out that we are stronger than we thought, that we can endure more than we imagined. It's in these times that we develop resilience, the ability to bounce back from setbacks, to rise from failure, and to keep moving toward our goals despite the obstacles in our way. Growth through discomfort also helps us cultivate empathy. When we experience hardship, we gain a deeper understanding of the struggles others face. We learn to be more compassionate, to listen more attentively, and to offer support without judgment. Discomfort opens our hearts and minds to the experiences of others, helping us connect in a deeper, more meaningful way. We realize that we are not alone in our pain, and that everyone at some point faces their own challenges. But perhaps the most profound thing we learn in discomfort is that growth is not always a linear path. There are times when the discomfort feels like it's never ending, when the struggle feels too heavy to bear. And yet, if we continue to press forward, if we choose to embrace the discomfort instead of running from it, we begin to see that every trial, every hardship, every painful moment has a purpose. It is shaping us, molding us, and preparing us for something greater. It is in the darkest moments that our most significant growth takes place, and it is in the fire of discomfort that we are refined into the person we are meant to become. Growth through discomfort is not about seeking out pain or hardship for the sake of it. It's about understanding that discomfort is a part of the journey. It's about recognizing that as we go through life, we will inevitably face moments that push us out of our comfort zones, that test our limits, and that challenge us in ways we never imagined. And rather than avoiding these moments, we choose to embrace them, to learn from them, and to allow them to transform us. It's easy to desire comfort, to wish for ease, and to long for a life without struggle. But the truth is that the greatest growth happens in the midst of the discomfort. The discomfort is the forge where our character is shaped, our strength is built, and our true potential is realized. And while it may not always be easy, it is in these moments that we discover who we truly are and what we are capable of achieving. There are times in life when everything seems unclear, the path ahead is obscured, and the destination feels distant, even unreachable. It's as if a thick fog has descended, blurring the landscape, clouding your vision, and making it difficult to see the next step, let alone the end goal. In these moments, it's easy to feel lost, confused, or even paralyzed by the uncertainty. We find ourselves wondering, how will I get through this? How will I know what to do next? But what if the fog is not something to fear, but something to embrace? What if the fog, rather than being a hindrance, is a necessary part of the journey? Seeing through the fog is about navigating through uncertainty without having all the answers up front. It's about trusting the process even when the way forward seems unclear, and having the courage to move forward even when the destination is hidden from view. Life doesn't always provide us with a clear, well-lit path. There are times when we must take one step at a time, not because we can see the entire road ahead, but because we trust that each step will bring us closer to the clarity we need. The fog is not permanent, it's a phase, a temporary condition that will eventually lift, revealing the way forward. The fog often represents the unknown, and the unknown can be one of the most intimidating aspects of life. We are conditioned to seek certainty, to want a detailed roadmap of our lives, to know what will happen next and how it will unfold. We want control, we want direction, and we want to feel confident in the choices we make. But life rarely works that way. The journey is often shrouded in fog, and the road ahead can be indistinct, filled with twists and turns that we can't predict. This is where trust comes in. Trust is the inner compass that guides us when the fog of uncertainty surrounds us. It's about believing that even when you can't see the next step, the steps you take are leading you in the right direction. The fog challenges us to rely not just on our eyes, but on our instincts. When we can't see the outcome, we must learn to feel our way through the challenges. It's like walking through a foggy morning. Your vision may be impaired, but your other senses are heightened. You become more attuned to the sounds around you, the subtle shifts in the air, and the feeling of the ground beneath your feet. In the same way, when we can't see clearly, we learn to trust in our inner wisdom, our intuition, and our faith to guide us. The fog forces us to engage with the world differently. It teaches us patience, humility, and the willingness to move forward in spite of not having all the information. The fog also teaches us the importance of persistence. When visibility is low, the temptation is to stop, to wait for things to clear up before moving ahead. But sometimes we are called to keep going even when we can't see the full picture. The fog will not last forever. If you continue to take steps, even when the path seems unclear, you will eventually break through to a place of clarity. The key is not to be paralyzed by fear or hesitation, but to trust in the process, knowing that each step you take is a step closer to the light. It is the persistence, the steady movement forward that eventually leads to breakthrough. In life, we often find ourselves in situations where we simply don't know what will happen next. We may be facing a major decision, dealing with unexpected circumstances, or trying to navigate a difficult season. And all we have is a sense of direction, but no clear view of what lies ahead. It's in these moments that we are asked to trust the journey even when we can't see the full map. The fog can feel like a barrier, a force that keeps us from seeing the opportunities that lie ahead. But if we stop and embrace the fog instead of resisting it, we can learn valuable lessons along the way. The fog forces us to slow down, to be more present in each moment, and to trust that things will unfold in their own time. Seeing through the fog is also about having the courage to move forward with partial clarity. It's easy to wait until everything is clear before taking a step, but sometimes waiting for the fog to lift entirely means you will never take action. The most significant moments in life often come when we step forward in faith with only a vague sense of where we're going. When you trust that the fog will eventually clear, you find the courage to move despite not having all the details. And in doing so, you discover that clarity often comes as a result of action, not just contemplation. In some ways, the fog is a reminder that life is not always meant to be fully understood in the moment. There are things we cannot see, answers we cannot yet grasp, and outcomes we cannot predict. But the fog also serves as a tool for growth. It encourages us to be patient with ourselves, to trust in the process, and to embrace the unknown. It teaches us that even when we can't see everything, we can still move forward. It's in the midst of uncertainty that we build resilience, develop trust, and learn to appreciate the journey, knowing that eventually the fog will lift and we'll see the path more clearly. The fog may obscure our vision temporarily, but it also makes the moments of clarity all the more meaningful when they come into view. Trust is often portrayed as something that comes naturally, something that arises spontaneously from a place of safety, familiarity, and comfort. We think of trust as something that we either have or don't have based on how we feel about a situation or a person. But what if trust is not merely a feeling, but a choice? What if it's not about waiting for the right emotions to rise up within us, but instead deciding in the face of doubt and uncertainty to place our faith in something bigger than ourselves? Trust as a choice is not about ignoring the doubts or fears we may have. It's not about pretending that everything is fine or that we aren't affected by what's happening around us. Rather, it's about making a deliberate decision to trust, despite the fear, despite the confusion, and despite the uncertainty. Trust is a conscious act of the will, not just a passive emotion that comes and goes. It's about deciding to believe that no matter the outcome, there is a purpose at work, even if we can't yet see it. We often confuse trust with a sense of security. We believe that we can only trust when everything feels safe, when all the conditions align, and when we feel certain about the future. But in reality, trust doesn't always come when things are comfortable or clear. In fact, trust is most powerful when we are faced with the unknown, when we don't have all the answers, and when we are asked to step out in faith, despite not feeling entirely secure. It's in these moments that trust becomes a choice, an act of courage, a decision to move forward, even when we don't feel ready. Trust as a choice means that we take control of how we respond to life's challenges. Instead of being at the mercy of our emotions, we decide to trust in something greater than our feelings. We choose to believe that there is a plan for our lives, even when we can't see the blueprint. We choose to believe that, even in the midst of chaos, there is a force guiding us through. It's not about waiting for everything to feel right before we act. It's about choosing to trust in the face of discomfort and uncertainty. This kind of trust is not easy. It's much easier to trust when everything feels good, when the people around us are trustworthy, and when the future looks promising. But true trust is forged in the furnace of difficulty. It's built when things are hard, when the people we rely on let us down, when the path seems unclear, and when everything within us wants to retreat into the safety of doubt. Trust in these moments is not a feeling, it's a decision to believe that the storm will pass, that the path will become clear, and that even in the darkest moments, we are not alone. When we trust as a choice, we empower ourselves. We stop waiting for the perfect conditions or the perfect feelings, and instead we take responsibility for our faith. We stop giving control over to our circumstances, emotions, or the actions of others, and we choose to trust anyway. This is where true strength lies, not in the absence of fear or doubt, but in our ability to choose trust even in the face of it. It's easy to trust when everything is going well, but when things go wrong, that's when the true test of trust begins. And when we make the choice to trust in those moments, we are building resilience, faith, and endurance. Choosing to trust is also about releasing control. We often think we need to control everything in our lives to feel secure. We want to know how things will turn out, when they will happen, and exactly what will unfold. But trust asks us to let go of that need for control. It asks us to embrace the uncertainty, to believe that we don't have to know all the answers to move forward. It's about choosing to trust that, even when we don't have the full picture, everything will work together in the end. This is one of the hardest aspects of trust, relinquishing the desire to control the outcome and instead trusting that there is a bigger plan at work that is beyond our understanding. But when trust becomes a choice, we also experience freedom. We free ourselves from the anxiety and stress of trying to control every detail of our lives. We free ourselves from the need to be perfect or to have everything figured out. We trust that, even when we stumble, there is grace to guide us back on track. Choosing to trust is liberating because it allows us to let go of the burden of perfection and control, and instead we walk forward with faith, knowing that every step we take is guided by something greater than ourselves. But trust as a choice is also deeply tied to hope. When we choose trust, we are essentially choosing hope. We are choosing to believe that the best is yet to come, that something good can emerge from even the most difficult situations. This is where the power of trust lies, not in the absence of struggle, but in the belief that despite what we face, something better is on the horizon. Choosing trust is an act of hope. It's the belief that no matter how difficult the journey may be, we are moving towards something greater, something that will ultimately bring us peace, growth, and fulfillment. Trust is not a passive emotion that we wait for. It is an active choice we make each and every day, especially in times of uncertainty. It is the decision to believe, to act, and to keep moving forward even when we don't feel ready, when we don't have all the answers, and when the path ahead is unclear. Trust as a choice is what sustains us through the storms of life, what carries us through the seasons of doubt, and what gives us the courage to keep going when everything seems impossible. It is not just a feeling, it is a decision to believe in something greater, to trust in the journey, and to have faith that all will be well in the end.